They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want you.
Come on, and for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
The Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 defines a public officer as a person employed or engaged in the public service. This public officer is a holder of public trust and is expected to take decisions for the public good. Where this trust is violated and wrong decisions taken, the public officer is said to have betrayed the trust and abused his office. Such an abuse attracts the wrath of the law, as has been the case with many public officers whose cases have been handled by the Commission and have either been sanctioned or punished by the law courts to serve as deterrents to others. We bring you highlights of some of these convictions as secured by ICPC recently. We have ethics and values and many more. Welcome to Corruption Must Go. I am Ruth Awudi.
Corruption not in my country.
What do you want to buy?
Potato. Small baskets. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi, make her no buy them. Make her show you something. What? What in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical what they put on for the plantain make her ripe up.
So you dey put chemical for plantain where people go chop?
No water, no be chemical.
Water. You know say Pela I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink am.
Where I collect that water, drink am.
I just stop finish. See my belly. I found it don't big. I just stop drink water finish.
Wait, you drink am now. And they sell am plantain I go come put am for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That one I talk and now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
This is Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. Murna Barnabas Atiaye brings us details of these convictions secured by the Commission recently.
Welcome to this segment of the program. I am Murna Barnabas Atiaye. A Delta State High Court sitting in Ozoro has sentenced a former Education Secretary of Bomadi Local Government Education Authority, Mr. Abayomi Tom Kelekumo, to 5 years imprisonment for employing his daughter, Ms. Preye Tom, into the service of the Local Government Education Authority. Kelekumo, who was sentenced by Justice Briki Okolosi without an option of fine, was accused by ICPC of violating Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 by using his position to confer undue advantage upon his relation. The offence is also punishable under the same section. The Commission, in a one-count charge, said that the convict gave employment to his daughter, who was then a senior secondary 2 student, into the local government service, knowing fully well that she was at the same time a full-time student. The judge ruled that the convict will serve his terms without any option of fine in accordance with the Act. Also, for being in possession of fake medical reports from a Maitama Abuja District Hospital, a woman, Miss Inaku Victoria Oko, has been convicted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment by Justice Olukayode A. Adeniyi of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Ms. Oko was brought before the court by ICPC and accused of procuring a fake medical report in the name of one Anioku Richard Chinonso, which was intended to enable him to travel to India for medical treatment. The commission in a 4-count charge said that the convict also procured a fake medical pathology laboratory report form in the name of the same Chinonso, which was intended to support a visa application that would enable him travel abroad. The offense on which she was convicted violated sections 363 of the Penal Code Cap 532 laws of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja 2006, and punishable under section 364 of the same law. Ms. Oko was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail without an option of fine on each of the 4 counts. The sentences will run concurrently. In a similar vein, a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory FCT sitting in Apo, Abuja, has found a senior staff of the University of Ibadan, Adedeji Taiwo, guilty of forging the signature of the former Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, NUC, Professor Julius Okoji. Taiwo was charged in July 2016 before Justice Olukayode Adeniyi by ICPC on a 4-count bordering on forgery and making false statement to a constituted authority. Counsel to ICPC told the court that the offense violated section 25 subsection 1A and punishable under section 25 1B of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The commission accused Taiwo, who was a principal executive officer, Passage and Protocol of the University of Ibadan, of presenting a forged letter from NUC to the Director, Consular and Immigration Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Abuja, with the intent to facilitate the approval of a note verbal for one Mr. Lukman Jegede Adeyemi, who was not a staff of the University of Ibadan, to enable him attend a conference at the National University of Seoul, South Korea. And a civil servant with Benin Owena River Basin Development Authority, Mr. Monde Isio Oko, has been sentenced to 35 years in jail for mismanaging the agency's 2.5 million naira. Oko, who was a salary officer with the authority, was dragged before Justice E. Idigin of High Court 3, Benin City by ICPC. The commission, in a 12-count charge, accused the convict of using his position to corruptly enrich himself, thereby committing an offense which is contrary to Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 and punishable under the same section. ICPC's counsel, Peter Malan, had told the court that Oko committed the offense between 2006 and 2007 by paying himself monthly salaries from the coffers of the river basin through multiple bank accounts in First Bank, United Bank for Africa, and a Community Bank. He was said to have perpetrated the crime in collaboration with a cashier in the agency, Enudi Lazarus, who was also charged to court by the commission, but was however acquitted by Justice Edigen. Mr. Oko was found guilty of committing the offense and sentenced to 35 years imprisonment without an option of fine by the trial judge. He was sentenced to 5 years per count on 7 counts out of 12 on which he was found guilty. The sentences will run concurrently.
All the above convicts took advantage of their office and the public trust placed on them to commit fraud, thinking they would escape the long arms of the law. The Commission believes that the convictions will not only serve as punishment to the convicts, but deterrence to other public officers who might want to abuse their positions. Mr. Golden Uwagu of ICPC Legal Department has this to say.
Join hand with ICPC, make 'em better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to
One hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
With me in the studio today is Mr. Golden Iwagu. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, what do you make of all these convictions?
Well, like has been stated, public office is a trust, and public officers are expected to hold that trust, not breaching same or violating same. But when they do so, of course, the law is always there to take its course. What I basically make of these convictions is the fact that there is a provision in place, and then the determination by the government, the courts are ready to do justice when cases, are brought before them. But importantly, I can say that the Administration of Criminal Justice Act has come to help, in the speedy dispensation of justice. Prior to this time, you will see cases are stalled for reasons of stay of proceedings and all that. But ACJA in Section 306 has basically prohibited stay of proceedings. So the speed with which we now have convictions, I can attribute to the provisions of ACJA, the determination of the courts to do justice, the determination of the present government, and overall the determination of the management of the ICPC to also see to it that these cases are, investigated with dispatch and prosecuted equally with dispatch. This, in summary, I see as what has given rise to the speed with which we have secured convictions bordering on breaches by a public officer of the trust on them and in the offices they hold.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So what can you say about public officers who think they can escape the arms of the law?
Well, I would say basically because in the times past, like I said, before the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, enacted in 2015, most defendants and the attorneys think that from the moment a charge is filed, of course, there's an application to quash. The court rules on it, then they begin the journey of appeals. But my advice would be that any public servant, basically, should not think that it is business as usual. Because this time, with the ACJA in place, the era of stay of proceeding is gone. In fact, there is a provision in ACJA that as long as the charge, for which the defendant is standing trial, as long as it's not misled with regards to the contents, or substance of the charge, as long as it's not misled, the court will not quash a charge. So anybody still thinking that, let me commit a crime, I will go get superior or senior attorneys to defend me and then make applications to the Supreme Court, it will no longer work, because ACJA has made, like I said, Section 306 has made sufficient provision, that will stall or that delay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us today, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello viewers, today it's our pleasure to be educating you on the provisions of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act, that is the ICPC Act 2000. And today what we are looking at is in respect of the sections, offences and penalties as provided under the Act. Basically, the offences we have under the ICPC Act are contained in sections 8 to 26 of the Act. But today we are going to look at some of those offences. And it's my pleasure this day for us to start with section 8 of the ICPC Act. Section 8 of the ICPC Act provides for the offence of gratification by an official. What this basically means is that a person who is employed in the public service of the Federation, state or local government, who in his official capacity asks for, receives or procures any kind of benefit for himself in order to allow him to do something that he's supposed to be doing in his official capacity, or to forbear from doing anything that he's supposed to do in his official capacity, or in respect of something that he has already done. He has finished doing it, he has already done it, but still he goes back to receive some benefits from anybody in respect of that official act that's already been done. That is the offense of gratification by an official. And when an official uses his office to get this kind of gratification, the ICPC Act under section 8 says that the person is guilty of an offense which attracts a punishment on conviction of 7 years imprisonment. So what we are talking about here is that people who are employed in the public service, be it federal, state or local government, should refrain from asking for, receiving or procuring any kind of benefit for themselves in respect of any official duty which they are supposed to do, or which they have already done, or which they will still do. Because if anybody does that and ICPC gets him, such a person will be prosecuted, and if found guilty, he will go in for it 7 years imprisonment. Next to that, we also have the offense of corrupt offers to public officers under section 9 of the ICPC Act. Let us remember that section 8 talks about a situation where the public officer corruptly asks. But in a situation where somebody corruptly offers or gives any kind of benefit to a public officer in order to enable the public officer to do his duty, or to forbear from doing his duty, or in respect of a duty that the public officer has already done, such person that gives those kind of inducement or bribe or benefit is also guilty of an offense and is liable on conviction for 7 years imprisonment. So what we are talking about basically here is that both the giver and the taker are both liable under sections 8 and 9 of the ICPC Act. Now we move to section 10. Section 10 talks about corrupt demand by persons. If we remember that section 8 and section 9 talks about corruptly demanding and corruptly offering to a public officer. Now section 10 deals with people generally, not necessarily only public officer. So when a person demands for a bribe, receives a bribe, offers a bribe to any official in order to make that official to either do his duty, which he normally has to do, whether there is inducement or not, or to refrain from doing a duty which he's supposed to do, or for a duty that he has already done and finished, and then somebody comes back and gives him any kind of benefit or gratification in respect of that duty, such a person is also guilty of an offense, both the giver and the taker under section 10, and it also attracts a punishment of 7 years imprisonment. What we are doing is that we basically want the public to know about these provisions of the law. We know that a popular saying says that ignorance of the law is not an excuse under the law. So anybody who commits an offense that is punishable under the ICPC Act will not be hard to say, I didn't know that these things are offenses. Whether you know them or you don't know them, if you commit any offense that is contrary to the ICPC Act and the law catches up with you, you'll be prosecuted and you'll be jailed accordingly. So we are appealing to the general public to stay away from corruption. Thank you very much.
Corruption not in my country. Daladi, my business has been going down. I need your help.
Bawahala. I will show you the formula. I use some bad chemical which I mix, so produce the drugs which gives me up to 4 times profit. Imagine,
So you are one of the people that is killing millions and millions of Nigerians in this country. Dalabi, was it not you last 2 months that was complaining about the fuel scarcity in this country, that the government is corrupt?
Have I killed anybody in your family?
You don't have to kill any of my family members directly. Every Nigerian you kill is my family. Selling of fake drugs, expired drugs, putting drugs in wrong packet, all that are acts of corruption. This is corruption, not in my country. CIA.
Me? Fake drug? Now corruption? Allah kia.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Thank you for watching this edition of the program. Public officers at federal, state and local government levels are expected to draw lessons from these convictions by being upright in their conduct and doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Remember that public office is public trust. Do not betray it. You can watch us via our YouTube channel, reach us through our social media platforms, and contact us through the following addresses as shown on the screen. See you again next week. I am Ruth Awudi saying bye for now.